Okay. It is 5:30. We'll call the meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Meisler? Here. Councilmember Beltran?
Here.
Councilmember Wyrock?
Present.
Vice Mayor Grillo?
Present.
Mayor Flores?
Present. We'll now go into oral communications. This is the opportunity to address the City Council on any matter of interest for closed session. Unless additional time is authorized by the council, all commentary shall be limited to 3 minutes. Do we have anyone in the audience for closed session items? No? Do we have anyone on virtually?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, then we'll move on to the City Council closed session items.
Thank you, Your Honor. There are 5 items before the council in closed session this evening. The first, pursuant to Government Code Section 54957.6, conflict of labor negotiator, agency negotiator John Lawless and Juliana Andrade, employee organizations, Porterville City Firefighters Association. Item 2, Government Code Section 54956.95, liability claim, claimant CEI, Densply, Serona Incorporated, Aaron Wood, agency claimed against City of Porterville. Item 3, Government Code Section 54856.95, liability claim, application for leave to present a late claim, applicant, claimant, Chessie Allen, agency claimed against City of Porterville. Item 4, Government Code Section 54956.9, subsection D, subsection 3, Council's legal counsel, anticipated litigation, significant exposure to litigation, 4 cases in which facts are not yet known to potential plaintiff. And item 5, Government Code Section 54956.9, subsection D, subsection 4, Council's legal counsel, anticipated litigation, initiation of litigation, 1 case.
Thank you. It's 5:31. We will now go into closed session. It is 6:36. We will reconvene open session and report on reportable action taken in closed session.
Thank you, Mayor. On item A3, the application for leave to present a late claim by Chessie Allen on a motion by Councilmember Meister and seconded by Councilmember Beltran in a 5-0 vote, that leave to file a claim was denied. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to ask that you please stand and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance led by Vice Mayor Carrillo, and please remain standing for an invocation or moment of silence. Is there anyone that would like to come forth and do an invocation? Please remain standing for a moment of silence. Thank you. You may be seated. Okay. We will now move on with the Employee of the Month. Karina Galindo, is she here? Please come forward. Please face your audience, Karina. Face your audience. Karina Galindo began her service with the city of Porterville in February 2017 as a part-time aide in the library division of the Parks and Leisure Services Department. Karina was promoted to a full-time library assistant in July 2019. Karina is a valued member of the library division and can be counted on to be calm and respectful in all interactions with her coworkers and library patrons. Karina has had a long work history planning, coordinating, and running multiple events for the city library, which include Dia de los Niños, Read Across America, Teen Read Week, Banned Book Week, Summer Reading, and the list goes on. Currently, Karina manages the social media platforms for the library. She is developing our early learning center at the temporary library, as well as getting our 1,000 books before kindergarten program reignited. Karina is the ultimate team player who takes on new challenges with a positive attitude and can easily overcome any obstacles. Karina is engaged to her fiancé, Mark, and they share a son named Mars, who is 19 months old. Karina, Mark, and Mars just settled into their new home a few months ago and are enjoying decorating it for the holidays. However, let it be noted that Karina's favorite holiday is Halloween. In her spare time, Karina enjoys spending time with family and friends and taking Mars on many new adventures as possible. Please join me in congratulating Karina Galindo as the Employee of the Month for December 2022.
Bailey. The pen's down.
I just want to say thank you to the city of Porterville for employing me, especially through the pandemic. And, I love what I do. So when I got, recognized for this, I was just like, what? This is just normal for me. But I'm very, very thankful.
Thank you. That must be your fiance. All right. We will now move on to the next presentation.
Thank you, Your Honor. Chief Cogburn is going to provide a presentation to us in recognition of some of our first responders from an emergency incident response.
Thank you, Mr. Lawless, Honorable Mayor, and members of council. The purpose of tonight's presentation is to provide the council with a recap of a structure fire that occurred on October 23rd, and to recognize our firefighters for successfully rescuing an occupant trapped on the second floor. There we go. This slide illustrates the location of our fire stations identified by the stars on the map and the location of the emergency incident, which is the red pin. You can note the proximity of fire station 71, which is the far right star next to the red pin, in close proximity to the incident. Just before 8 a.m. on October 23rd, fire department personnel were dispatched to 157 North Murray Street for a residential structure fire. Battalion Chief 79, Engine 71, 72, 73, Patrol 71, and Utility 71 responded to the incident. It's important to note that Utility 71 doesn't typically respond to our structure fires, but due to the time of the incident happening at shift change, we had additional personnel at the station that responded to the location. This played a significant benefit, or was a significant benefit, to the outcome of this incident. I'll play some audio from this.
All units respond to a structure fire at 157 North Murray for a fire on the second floor. All units respond to a structure fire at 157 North Murray for a fire that's on the second floor.
This slide shows us an aerial overview of the property along with the Alpha and Bravo sides. We use the military phonetic alphabet of Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, and Delta to identify geographic locations during emergency incidents, which you see used here. Due to the proximity of Fire Station 71, Engine 71 and Patrol 71 were the first to arrive at the incident, with a total of 5 personnel. Upon their arrival, they discovered a large amount of fire coming from the second story, Bravo side, and a significant amount of smoke coming from the Alpha and Charlie side of the structure.
Porterville Engine 71's on scene. 2-story wood frame. Heavy fire showing from the Bravo side, Division 2 windows. Engine 72, or Engine 71 is going to operate in offensive mode. Have all incoming switch attack 3 for assignment. This will be the Murray incident. 71 will be Murray IT.
10-4.
So one thing I want to recognize is that is exactly how we train our captains to give an arrival report. It was clear, concise, he was calm, he gave a lot of information in a short period of time, and he set the tone for the rest of the incident. If you are excited on the radio, you automatically raise the excitement level or the anxiety of crews responding. So he did an outstanding job. So the next slide, after completing his arrival report, Captain Huerta was informed that there was a female occupant trapped on the second story Delta side, and that there were additional occupants still inside. You can see the Delta side window, second story, on the left side. He directed Engineer Avina and Firefighter Gonzalez to rescue the trapped victim on the Delta side. They quickly raised a ladder, and Firefighter Gonzalez climbed to the second floor window and assisted the victim down the ladder. Simultaneously, Captain Huerta and Firefighter Tamayo advanced a hose line to the structure, to the second floor of the interior of the structure, and searched for additional occupants.
79, 71.
79.
We'll have one rescue from the Delta side, Division 2 roof. We're in progress of doing that now. Unknown if occupants are out. 71's going to go into rescue mode to pull line to the front door.
Again, clear, calm, and concise as he provides the battalion chief and incoming resources with valuable information. As the additional resources arrive at scene, they begin assisting with the search efforts and other critical fireground operations. Without the support of these additional resources, the interior crews would not be able to search for victims and also extinguish the fire. Fortunately, during the search, no additional occupants were found, but they did locate the occupant's dog, which unfortunately did not survive. These are some key benchmarks that I wanted to highlight. You'll notice the time of 7:57 a.m. That's the time they were dispatched to the structure fire. Engine 71 and Patrol 71 arrived on scene within 3 minutes and 37 seconds. This played a crucial part to the outcome of this incident. An extended response time and limited staffing showing up, the trapped victim, the outcome might have been different than what we had that day. At 8:01, rescue initiated on the Delta side. This is only 46 seconds after the arrival of the first engine. This happened in lightning speed. This didn't happen because they didn't prepare. These men and women of our department prepare every day in training for these types of incidents, and it showed on this day. 8:14, fire contained, victim transported to Sierra View Medical Center with smoke inhalation. Total duration, 17 minutes and 37 seconds after the dispatch. This was an outstanding job. The crews on this incident, I'd like you to, as I call your name, please stand and remain standing. Battalion Chief Mike Hildreth, Captain Chris Huerta, Engineer David Avina, Firefighter Andrew Tamayo, I don't think he could be with us tonight. Firefighter Austin Gonzalez, Firefighter Damon Noe, Captain Alex Rodriguez, Engineer Michael Sanchez, Firefighter Reggie Callow could not be here tonight, Engineer Renee Zavala, Firefighter Larry Segovia, not here with us, Firefighter Alexis Aon, Captain Anthony Alejandre, and Firefighter Manny Herrera. We'll take this opportunity to recognize them. Remain standing, and the mayor would like to call you up for a certificate of appreciation.
Each of these certificates read, "In recognition of your valiant actions in rescuing a community member from a burning structure and appreciation of your brave character to serve the community of Porterville." I am going to call the names of the certificates I have, because I have you in order. And please come forward and remain standing, and the vice mayor will call the next numbers and the names, and then all council members will come down and congratulate you. Anthony Alejandre. David Avina. Alexis Ayon. Alexis isn't here. Reggie Kahlo. Not here either? Okay. Austin Gonzalez. Manuel Herrera. Mike Hildreth. Vice Mayor?
Yes. Forgive me if I don't have the correct pronunciation, but the first one is Chris Huerta. Damon Noe. Alex Rodriguez. Michael Sanchez. Larry Segovia. Andrew Tamayo. And Renee Zavala.
One more round of applause. Thank you very much.
Mayor, can I say something?
Yes.
The last thing I would just like to say is, Chief, thank you for sharing that. I feel like that's very, it's helpful to understand a little piece of what the department deals with, and also those timelines were outstanding and unbelievable and life-saving, obviously. Just want to thank you guys.
They are a family, and we know that. They are to be commended for every day, and our prayers continue that when they leave home, they return safely. Thank you once again. Okay, we will now go on to oral communications. This is the opportunity to address the council on any matter of interest, whether on the agenda or not. Please address all items not scheduled for public hearing at this time. Unless additional time is authorized by the council, all commentary shall be limited to 3 minutes. You will be asked to state your name and address for the record. I'd like to continue to emphasize that the 3-minute per speaker time period be adhered to so that City Council can, in an orderly fashion, proceed with its scheduled decision-making responsibilities. Is there anyone that would like to come forth under oral communications? Please do so.
Brock Neely, address on record. Fernando, I have item. I'm going to be taking my car down to Bakersfield to have the brakes replaced on it at the Toyota dealership. And it's going to take about 4 hours, so they're going to provide us an Uber to take us to the shopping mall, and then an Uber to come back. So I downloaded the Uber app. The problem is while I was on the Uber app, I figured I'm going to see what it takes to log in and get one of these transport vans. I can't do it from my address. What you see on the front page of this page is the actual map of the little area where I live. You notice there's North Lotus, West Reed Avenue, and North Boyles. Turn it over, and that's what Uber has in their mapping system. Type in 1750 North Lotus, it can't find it. So it can't dispatch something to you. So whoever's the representative on the Regional Transit Authority board, they need to take that and they need to contact Uber and say, you need to fix your mapping program. The other thing is I'd like to welcome the two new council members. I'd like to warn them that the rhetoric and everything they were stating in their campaigns, if they decide they want to ignore mandates, could damage the financial position of this city. And in doing so, you're harming all the constituents who you're supposed to represent, not just one party. This is a nonpartisan seat, and you represent everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to come forth?
Good evening. I'm Richard Eckhoff, Board Chair for Valley Adult Day Services here in Porterville. And we got something really great going on here because the Buck Schaefer Spectacular is back. After a 2-year hiatus due to COVID, the Buck Schaefer Spectacular will once again grace the stage of the Buck Schaefer Theater in the Porterville Memorial Auditorium. Performance will again be on the last Saturday of February. Auditions will be held on Tuesday, January 17th at 6 p.m. at the Buck Schaefer Theater on Olive. The Buck Schaefer Spectacular was started in 1963 by Buck Schaefer as a fundraising variety show. Buck produced and directed the show for 44 consecutive years. He stepped down at the close of the 2006 show. Since 2018, the proceeds of the show have gone to support Valley Adult Day Services here in Porterville. Valley Adult Day Services began operations in 1990 as Porterville Senior Daycare. For more than 30 years, VADS has provided respite for caregivers of adults with cognitive problems, while providing these adults with social interaction and an improved quality of life. For more information about Valley Adult Day Services, check their website. That's at valleyadultdayservices.org. Audition applications are available on the Valley Adult Day Services website, or they can be requested at buckspectacular@ocsnet.net. And paper applications are available at the Chamber of Commerce on Main Street. So if you are a ventriloquist, you sing, you dance, do magic or stand-up comedy, play an instrument, jump rope, walk tight ropes, or have a trained chicken, come on down and audition. Well, trained chicken couldn't be any more than the untrained snake we had some years ago and made a total mess of the stage. And, oh boy, I'm glad I wasn't working the show that year. If you have any questions, you can contact show producer Richard Eckhoff at 559-784-4213 or email me at wildgoose@ocsnet.net. You can also get an application through me there. Thank you very much. And it's a pleasure to greet so many new faces. I only see one or two I recognize. It's been a while since I've been up here. So welcome to the hot seats and have a lot of fun. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else that would, please come forward.
Right. Good evening, City Council. My name's Christy Martin. I'm here on behalf of the Porterville Chamber, and I also would like to say welcome to the new City Council members and congratulations. I look forward to working with you. I want to give some updates that are going on with the Chamber. So I first want to share about our Children's Christmas Parade. So thank you again to Council for approving that new date. That was quite the fiasco that we had to handle at the last minute with the weather. So thank you to all the city departments as well that were involved with that came together. And we had a great turnout. We had a great community event with that date change. And I just wanted to share some of our float winners from the evening. For our commercial division, our first place went to Hyper Ride Designs, second place went to the Frostfest Train, and third place went to Top Notch Security. Our decorated vehicles, first place went to the Porterville Hot Shots Fast Pitch Softball, second place went to the Zonta Club of Porterville, and third place went to the U.S. Forest Service. For non-religious floats, first place went to Summit Charter Academy Matthew, second place went to E-Campus Vitus, and third place went to West Putnam Elementary. And for our religious floats, first place went to Porterville Praise Fellowship, and second place went to the World of Victory Church. So congratulations to them. They put a lot of hard work into those floats and to make that event festive for everybody. So we wanted to recognize them. Also, thank you to everybody who joined us for the ribbon cutting this last Thursday at the Palace Kitchen and Craft Bar. That's a new restaurant that's opened up here in town in the place of where Fugazi's once was. So we were really excited to be able to celebrate them, and there was a really great turnout there. I also want to advise there will be no Government Affairs Committee meeting for December. We will be resuming that in January on January 26th at noon. So it's a great opportunity to hop on a Zoom call and hear some updates from our local representatives about what's going on. We also will be taking a break from First Friday Coffee in January. We will resume on February 3rd at 7 a.m. Galaxy Theaters, and our host will be Sequoia Family Medical Center. So everybody's invited to come out to learn a little bit more about what they're doing there, and of course to network. We are deep into planning out our year for 2023, so we have a lot of exciting events coming up, a lot of things that we are going to be kind of adding in, so we're really excited to start rolling that out. And lastly, we have developed a new member toolkit. So this is something that we developed as we saw the need for members trying to understand what their benefits are with Porterville Chamber. So I highly encourage everybody to go and check that out. It is available via our website, portervillechamber.org, the menu item members, and then there's a member toolkit there. So we welcome our members and, of course, anybody to go see what we're doing. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Couldn't stay away.
You couldn't stay away.
I tell you.
Good to see you.
Your Honor, Vice Mayor, Council, I'm so nervous. Just kidding. On the serious side, if you recall, last meeting, the Brewer family gifted me a little library in dedication and recognition of fallen firefighters, Captain Figueroa and Fireman Jones, and they left it to me where I'd like to place it, but I would love to place it if I could. It's on the porch of the IT building right next to the fire station, since it was dedicated to the firemen. And I know I need to get council permission to put it on city property, and so that's the reason I'm here. And I'd like an answer tonight. No, just kidding. I know you can't do that. But I do request that if I can, and if you would please take that in consideration, I would appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Thank you. It will be taken into consideration.
And Merry Christmas to you.
Merry Christmas. Is there anyone else that would like to come forward? Do we, please?
So, Marco Galina, my address is on file. Well, first of all, welcome to the new faces within this council. I wanted to follow up in regard to what I've been coming for. Excuse me, sir. Can I get this over to the mayor? Thank you, boss. I wanted to follow up in regard to why I have been coming here for the past 2 meetings. I fully feel that this award that was awarded to Giovanni's Pizzeria should be rescinded. Main reason why, again, is because my fiance was cheated out of her wages since 2008 all the way to 2018, and this business was awarded Business of the Year in 2019. And yet, we filed a claim with the DLSC that year, and unfortunately, it takes time to get this processed. So, just setting politics aside and setting friendship aside, right? These awards should be given to businesses that are really deserving of it, instead of being given maybe with a elbow rub or whatever it may be, because like what I provided, that's what it seems like for it to be. And I forget her name, the lady that you took the seat for, Luana. She mentioned that it was too late. It's not too late, right? It is not too late, Jason. So I made this address back in 2019, and again, it takes a while for it to come into fruition, for us to have evidence, right? Through the Department of Labor and Standard Enforcement, through the court of law. Now that we have it, we're being told it's too late. This business itself has been, I don't know even where to start. This family has been taking and taking, not only from the family, but the people that they run across, and they make it seem like they're above reproach. Come on. It's not too late. And this being, like the gentleman said, being a nonpartisan seat, action, I believe, has to be taken in regard to this. I know there's no criteria for it to be rescinded, the allocated business of the year. Maybe now is a good time for it to change. Because businesses that are awarded that should be playing by the rules and should be above reproach. And I ask the council to just take a look at it. from human to human, that's where we stand.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to come forward? Do we have anyone on virtually?
No, Your Honor.
No one on virtually? Okay, thank you very much. We will now move to the agenda. I am going to pull the AB 1234 reports. They will be placed and addressed when we come back from the successor agency meeting. At that time, we'll bring them back. We'll now go into, this is the time for all committee, commission, board reports, subcommittee reports, and staff informational items. Parks and Leisure, do we have anyone for Parks and Leisure? No? Library and Literacy Commission, please.
Like a bad weed, I keep coming back.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. We do have somebody for Parks and Leisure. But it's Janet using Donnie's computer or something.
I'm sorry. I'm Donnie
Okay.
tonight. Thank you.
Okay.
All right. Are you ready? Okay. Good evening, Mayor and members of the council. I'm Parks and Leisure Services Commissioner Janet Uresti with our commission report. The Youth Basketball League is about halfway through its season. The league for boys and girls ages 5 to 13 once again hit full capacity. The adult flag football league is underway with 2 Saturdays of games having been played. The Zalad House Candlelight Tours concluded last weekend. I don't know if any of you had a chance to attend, but it was really pretty. They did a really nice job. A good number of folk took in the festive decorations, piano music, and refreshments. The senior Christmas luncheon returned after a 2-year hiatus. More than 100 attended the afternoon that included a catered meal, live music from the fabulous studio band, and many raffle prizes. Thanks to Burton Middle School for partnering with the city once again to provide the facility and students to serve the meals. Judging takes place this week for the Christmas home decorating contest. A map of participants may be found on the Parks and Leisure website, and the public may vote for the People's Choice Award. The New Year's Eve Gala returns December 31st at the Veterans Building from 8 p.m. to midnight. Jerry Hall and Trickshot will be performing, and there will be a meal served. Admission is $10. The deadline to register for the Military Banner Program is February 1st. Applications may be completed online at the Parks and Leisure Services website or in person at the Centennial Plaza office. Finally, virtual bingo takes place the first Friday of January and February at 6 p.m. There is no cost to play, and winners compete for prizes. That concludes the report. Thank you for the time, and happy holidays from the Parks and Leisure Services Commission.
Thank you. It's good to see you. All right, now we'll go on to the Library and Literacy.
They should come more often. They do a lot. They really do. And personally, I appreciate them. We've had kind of a busy month. We reviewed 3 videos at our last meeting last week that the Porterville High School Multimedia and Technology Academy put together for us. One is an introduction to the literacy system in English. Then another one is in Spanish. And then another one just inviting people to come to our library and biblioteca. And I love the fact that we are bilingual because this community is bilingual. Well, it's actually more than bilingual, but biblia is a word that's from the Latin, so it can cover many languages. The kids did a really good job. It was interesting to see them. And we had two of them there. We're going to the, what do you call it? Concert choir thing. We had the formal tuxedo and the long gown. They were gorgeous. But we've been busy this month. We've had a lot of different meetings that have used the facility. The insurance representatives conducted a free Medicare class and pie event. I don't see how they go together, but there were 16 people there. November the 18th, the Tule River Youth Wellness Resource Center joined the library staff joined the community development staff for an event, and there were 70 participants. And our virtual story time, the one on Facebook every Tuesdays that you can go to, they had a total of 1,650 participants. And that's amazing. If you can't make it to the library with your children, you can do it in English or Spanish on Facebook. The book club is meeting in person and continues on the fourth Saturday of every month at 2 p.m. Bilingual story time is now at the library at 10 o'clock on Thursdays, and they had 50 participants who attended. Family literacy services are conducted every Thursday, third Thursday of the month, in the temporary library, and that's good. We had 6 participants. There are different things. The literacy, 3 of our students have progressed in what their abilities are and become much more productive. Rita has moved up in her learning English. Carmen, her skills are getting better and better, and her confidence, she's now speaking more freely. And Josephina now can converse with the medical staff when she has to go and understand what they're saying. And understanding is an important thing. I was proud to watch Karina today receive the honor. It was well-deserved, and I will say that all of the library staff that I've met, and I think I've met them all by now, are the same. They're good, hard-working people. And I want to talk about something I have forgotten to mention to you. How many of you have iPads or things like that? Computers, everybody has a computer. I'm a new iPad person. These old eyes need extra large print, so I finally broke down. So I got my library card, and I went and signed up for the ebooks. And I found out that we get our free ebooks from about 5 different sources. So no matter what your interest is, you can get it. And it's free. It's library. And it's checked out, and you have to turn it back in. So that's something I've not mentioned, but boy, am I using it now. This bookaholic is inhaling what she's missed. And with that, I'd like to wish you all a Merry Christmas. I'd like to welcome the new members. I'm here every second meeting, and you'll get used to that. And if you think I love books and I love our library, I do.
Thank you very
And I
much.
go home and watch it on YouTube.
Thank you. Merry Christmas to you. Okay. Good report. Wonderful information. Arts Commission. Animal Control Commission. Youth Commission. Transaction and Use Tax Oversight Committee. Nope. We'll now go into the staff informational reports.
Thank you, Your Honor. 2 reports provided, first being the monthly update with regards to water conservation status update for the month of November. Saw a 13% conservation rate compared to November of 2013. And then cumulatively, still at the city's goal of 25% cumulative conservation. During the month of November, there were 21 notices of violations issued with no administrative citations. And then secondly, based on the actions taken by the council at its last meeting, just as an informational item as to the committee assignments and appointments of the council to various boards and committees.
Thank you. Does council have any questions? Any comment? Not? Thank you for the staff information reports. We'll now move on to consent calendar. All consent calendar items are considered routine and will be enacted in one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these matters unless a request is made, in which event the item will be removed from the consent calendar. All items removed from the consent calendar for further discussion will be heard at the end of scheduled matters. How does council wish to proceed?
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
pardon me. I'd like to ask for item number 4 on the consent calendar to be pulled.
Okay.
And that's the only one from me. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any others? Okay, item number 4 has been pulled and will be placed at the end of scheduled matters. Do we have a motion for items 1 through 3, 5 through 13?
I'll make a motion, if there's no other items, to pull to approve the consent calendar, items 1 through 3 and 5 through 13.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion, we have a second. No further discussion, call for the vote. Passes unanimous, 5-0. Thank you. We will now move on to the scheduled matters.
Thank you, Your Honor. We have 3 scheduled matters now before the council this evening. The first is the consideration of a status report on conditional use permit concerning 180 South East Street. Mr. Ridenour will provide the staff report.
Thank you, Mr. Lawless. Honorable Mayor and City Council, at its meeting on June 6th of this year, the City Council adopted Resolution 40-2022 approving a conditional use permit, also known as a CUP, for the establishment of a nursery located at 180 South East Street. A CUP is required to establish the use of a nursery in the downtown mixed-use district to which this property is located. The CUP included several conditions of approval, including that the applicant submit plans and apply for building permits and make improvements to ensure that the unpermitted improvements meet the current adopted California Fire Code, California Building Code, and Porterville Development Ordinance, including a shade structure utilized for an outdoor growing area. The CUP also included semi-annual inspection by the building and fire departments due to the nature of the unpermitted improvements that had been made to the facility. The purpose of this report is to provide an update on the progress made by the applicant towards meeting the conditions of approval of the resolution. The applicant submitted an application for building permit and structural repair plans for the facility on September 2nd, 2022. Staff reviewed all of the plans submitted and provided comment on required corrections to the applicant on September 27th of this year. In accordance with the CUP, an inspection was performed on October 18th by the Chief Building Inspector and Fire Marshal. During the inspection, the applicant was advised that the fire extinguishers were out of date and required service and were found to be operating within the conditions of approval on the use of the facilities. Staff subsequently met with the applicant and the applicant's agent on December 1st to discuss questions that the applicant had pertaining to the comments and corrections provided in response to the applicant's submittal. The applicant noted during the meeting his agent would be resubmitting plans shortly. At the time of providing the staff report and giving it this evening, the applicant has not been able to submit plans to date. So currently, we still does not have the required building permits outlined in Resolution 40-2022. Staff's recommendation is the City Council consider the report and provide direction as deemed appropriate. Staff is available for questions.
Thank you very much for the report. How does council wish to proceed? Do you have any questions, comments to this regard? Councilmember Meister?
No, I don't.
Thank you. Vice Mayor? Not at this time. Councilmember Beltran?
No, not at this time as well.
Thank you. Councilmember Wyrock?
No, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay. I don't have any comment. I just believe that you're working with the applicant and that you would bring us back any information to that regard as far as where they are and where they're not. And hopefully it will be moving forward in the positive direction. Okay. Thank you. That's information. And we'll now move on to the next item.
Thank you, Hunter. Next item of second scheduled matter is consideration of the City Council Procedural Handbook. As has been presented to the City Council, it's customary upon the seating of a new council that it review its procedural handbook, and essentially this is the the document that guides the council. These are the rules of the council, so to speak, and how what procedures and practices it wishes and policies it wishes to implement in its self-governance. So like I said, the last time this was reviewed was 2 years ago upon the seating of the prior council, and so this is presented to the council for their consideration.
Thank you. I'm going to unfold the dialogue on this one, okay? Only because when I looked when it was last, I want to go back, and this is going to serve down memory lane, because this was brought back on January the 19th of 2021, and the council who was there, we had discussion. And I'm going to look at legal counsel. I'm looking at her right now, because one of the items, as I look at my notes, we had a highlighted discussion of social media as to not so much in the form of a policy or that, but the social media platforms such as Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, and Instagram, and what is an official agency account, and a clear guidance for elected officials as to what can and cannot be done via social media platforms, what is public versus private, personal posts by elected officials and how they would be interpreted, and to recognize personal account, public account, official government account, and probability the link to official accounts, and to avoid serial postings. However, I know that it is up to each of us to handle the matter individually and responsibly. You know, there's a responsibility on our behalf, and going in the direction of the law. The one that kind of creeps up on me, and I know it's a law, and perhaps there should be a highlight, are about the new social media rules and reacting to comments, or if there's something that can be in there that directs us to the city official links, or a reference, or to consult with the city attorney, you know.
No, so there's every time this comes up every few years, there's more to deal with regard to the legal implications and the laws that relate to use of social media. So, and I do think that this is a great opportunity to have this discussion, and we probably should add something to the council handbook. I'm thinking that we don't want to get overly complicated, because I know that the law is always changing here. But I do think we need to have some references to flag it to make it easier for the council members to know when they might need to look at, have a conversation with with the city manager or the city attorney about whether or not if they have a question, kind of just to flag those issues. So there's several areas. There's the new Brown Act rules with regard to reactions to other council members' posts that basically effectively really restricts council members from reacting at all, sharing or commenting on each other's postings. And I think the mayor raises a good point here, because the city also maintains some social media posting. And so generally, I was actually just kind of looking around to see what a lot of public agencies do. A lot of public agencies actually prohibit the direct sharing by an individual council member of city stuff, because then, it's like, it's going to be a race to see who can share what. Otherwise, no one else can do it, right? Because you have to sort of stay clear of each other with regard to your postings and reactions. So that's a whole area. And then you have the area that falls on you individually as elected officials, concerning what you decide you're going to post individually concerning your public work as a council member, because when you do that, you basically are creating a public forum on your social media account, which then will restrict what you can do with regard to those that are posting on your account. And there's been several cases. Everybody's pretty familiar with the fact that our last president had cases that went all the way to the Supreme Court. So there's cases there that actually discuss that. And then there was another case that happened actually in, I think it was 2021 of September, around fall of 2021, involving a school district and the blocking of people that were, but blocking of individuals on those, and that was found to be unconstitutional. And so there's a whole myriad of issues that you guys have to be aware of, and I think we need to at least somehow address those. without having too much too much complexity within the handbook, but just having that addressed, referencing it. I also know that the city has its own equipment use or electronic equipment and social media restrictions that we probably need to also kind of make sure we've looked at that to see what that covers and whether or not those are applicable to you guys. So there's an area I think that we should probably address in the council handbook. I already know I've gotten questions from new members, not just with this client, with my other public clients as well, as to, hey, how do we navigate this area? Because it is very confusing and complicated. So, I do think that would be one of my big recommendations, that we need, it's time to address it and at least have something in the handbook on that. So.
Thank you, I can appreciate that. And I'm sure that the new council members probably maybe have questions or maybe would like additional information. I'm just going to ask the question amongst all of us. Did you have time to look at the handbook and review it?
Yes.
And did you have anything that you would like to bring to the table since she is going to be doing a revision? I'm not prepared to say, let's ratify what we have if there's going to be revisions made or additions.
I've got another one too.
Please,
But
okay.
I can defer to council, though. I know they may have, I would suggest that since you guys have been moving the council reports, you may want to consider
thank you.
actually
Yes.
permanently putting that at the end.
Thank you for bringing that. And you've noticed that I've been pulling the item and to put them at our reports at the end so that we can conduct the business. And if council is okay, we add that to the revision, that we change the order of the AB 1234 reports.
I liked it as a constituent. I think it's.
Thank you very much, because we moved on and our reports come in at the very end. All right. Anything else? Is there anything else, Vice Mayor?
Did you have anything else?
No, I don't.
Okay.
Not vice mayor yet.
I think just the social media piece, guidelines, it'd be good if we didn't have too many restrictions, but whatever the law is, and
That's what I would aim to
Yeah.
stick to, is the law.
yeah, because I think what helped me when I came on board is having guidelines at all. So just to, it kind of frames what you can and can't do. And then, going through the handbook, first of all, you can reference any of those sections, but we also have access to you, which is very helpful too. So even I overthink it sometimes. So does it mean I can't? And I did call you after we reviewed this a couple years ago and said, does that mean we can't ever do this on our personal, so I'm already very careful, but I still like to talk to the community that are
I think there's a fine line between not enough and too
Yeah.
much information in the handbook on that issue.
so nothing very specific,
Thank
though.
you. Councilmember Wyrock?
I do have a few things that I would like to share. I've highlighted it in my handbook. I don't have it here tonight. They're small little things, but I would like them to be considered. Secondly, I really appreciate the effort that our local newspaper puts into reporting what goes on here, as well as the availability of the meeting minutes of these meetings and other committee meetings that we have. Also, since I've been on the council, it's been a trend that started way before I was appointed, the additional transparency between the different departments through the different internet websites, the city council portal and different, again, department information pages. I think that keeps a lot of the good public information out there. If we have opinions up here, I know you're very gracious. All the council members and the mayor, vice mayor are gracious in hearing our concerns. Our constituents have our phone numbers. The internet thing and blogging, I know it's a big click thing and it's how you gain popularity, but it's also how you can, maybe ruin your reputation if somebody takes something out of context. So, I tend to stay away from it myself, but that's my personal decision. So I'll look forward to seeing the draft of the information for the council handbook. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And once again, that will be brought back to us. And then you had some questions in the handbook. Is that something that you could ask? Or do you want to do it all up here when it comes back?
Well, I'll bring my handbook. It's in my car. I can give it
No,
to you. I almost
that's
brought
okay.
it
No,
in,
that's
but
okay.
Before I leave tonight, I'll give it to you, and
Well,
you'll see the highlighted.
Yeah,
portions.
and well, here's the thing. If they're sort of, like clerical, like non-substantive,
not a
not
period,
subject to debate type stuff, then we can just go ahead and make the changes. If there's anything that's sort of something that the council should, I'll just flag it if it's a discussion item for council. And maybe, if there's alternative language or something, or come up with, or, whatever. We can make it work so that we can make it clear that if it is a substantive issue, that it needs to be addressed and decided and deliberated on by the council.
Thank you.
I can appreciate that, so if you can do that.
And what I'd say is similarly, if there are other suggestions, recommendations, that those can be transmitted to myself and incorporated into this when it's brought forward
That way you can
with other.
contact if you want to have additional things. I really appreciate it. Now, I'm just going to say, I know these are going to be done, and they will be brought back in a future meeting.
We'll shoot
Next-
for the one, we'll
next
shoot
year?
for the one, the 17th, just to get it
I
handled.
go, they'll be
Otherwise,
brought
these
back
things take-
next year.
Yeah, next year,
At one of the meetings next year.
early next year.
Early next year. Because I did see that we, on the consent calendar, we don't have the January 3rd meeting. I was hoping that wasn't one you were going to pull. Thank you. All right, then we have already made that discussion with regard to the handbook, and now we'll go to item number 4 that was pulled from the consent calendar.
Thank you, Honor. Item number 4 was a consideration of an irrevocable offer of dedication from Burton School District, California Public School District. I have a real property conflict of interest in this item, so I'm going to need to excuse myself for that.
Okay, this item was pulled by Councilmember Wyrock.
Yes, and I believe Mr. Ridenhour is prepared to handle this item and give the staff report.
Thank you, Ms. Liu. I've asked Mr. Sanchez to provide the staff report.
Oh,
Okay.
look what he did.
All right.
Thank you, Mayor and members of council. So this item, I guess it's simple in nature, but I'm available for any questions. Ultimately, it's back in 2011, Burton School District provided an irrevocable offer to the county. The county never acted on it, and as of this summer, it became city through the annexation as part of the Brookside development. And so now it's before you. The intent of that item was to not accept the irrevocable offer of dedication, but to get your approval so that when the final map of that subdivision gets to the state of, just prior to recording, that we would sign it and have that become part of the street right-of-way. Because that is intended to become a city street per the conditions of approval. Currently, it's that cul-de-sac that goes into the Summit Charter Academy Lombardi. And the development's needing to dedicate 10 feet of right-of-way and a 10-foot landscape easement. But this area that's in the irrevocable offer through Burton is taking up, 5/6 of that width. So, but I'm available for any questions on this item.
Okay, how does council wish to proceed? Councilmember Wyrock?
Thank you, and thank you for the report and all the background information. I did spend a little bit of time with Mr. Lawless and Mr. Ridenour about, and we looked at the maps and the location and the street layout and 243 lots, 248 lots,
228.
228 lots in 2 phases with very well-engineered street layout and lot layout and a beautiful park in the center of the proposed subdivision. What is the status of the final map approval? I mean, is it ready to get stamped tomorrow? I mean, is it 2 months out? And is there any discussion still pending resolution to an item on it, or has it already been submitted, we're just waiting for the county or the other agencies?
Right. The only item we've seen are the improvement plans. We provided first plan check comments a couple months ago, and we have not seen the final map yet, and the reason for that is that there are some significant concerns for the sewer infrastructure in that area. A couple of lift stations are being studied, one at Westfield and Westwood, the other at Matthew and Mulberry, just to see if there's enough capacity, which at this point we're finding they may have already been impacted prior to this project. And so we're looking at additional data that we've gathered, our Public Works Department has gathered, and so we're going to be having a discussion here in the next few weeks with the consultant as they digest that info we provided. There is a potential that it's just going to come down to timing. If the city moves on it first, it's a city project. If the developer moves on it first, it'll be their project, but because it's a master plan reimbursement, then we'd pay them back at that time per our master plan reimbursement policy.
So with that little bit of information at the end, so they would be allowed to construct it once it gets approved. You've already made your comments. If their engineering comes back and it matches what we need here, it's just going to automatically flow through, correct?
The final map comes back to the council for ministerial approval, because we don't bring it back until it is in substantial, until the engineer has determined it, and please correct me if I'm wrong, Javier, on what I'm saying here. It goes to the engineer determines whether the proposed final is in substantial compliance with the tentative. At that point, then it comes to the council for ministerial approval. The council is required to approve it if it's in substantial compliance with the tentative map.
Well, it's a
that's the
beautiful
process.
plan. It's a beautiful map. My direct, well, we spoke months ago about the traffic impacts on Westwood and out there at Westfield and Lombardi, and it really made me feel good that prior councils in different fiscal planning, financial, as well as scheduling matters for the construction of traffic signals at certain intersections that we've talked about is on board to occur. I don't remember the timeframes of those, but there was, my concern is by giving our approval here tonight to allow, once it's done and we give our ministerial thing, it's off to the races. And that little road that we're talking about here today with the easement, I've been on that at school hours, and it's small and it's tiny, and the access has never been completed at the end of Lombardi onto wherever it's going to go. I've seen a couple of different drawings. I just don't want the community further pinched by additional traffic in that area. There are some nice access points, I think you'll agree, along the western side of that development to take people to the north or to the south. But if they choose to come down into closer to the city center and travel southward, it's going to impact traffic even more. And there's a lot of kids that walk to school and stuff, and you know how I feel about crosswalks and pedestrian safety. So any comment on that with, you know, and even the easement on Lombardi, there's a house right there, and on the map that I saw, it didn't show the lot line being pushed back and the road being done on Lombardi, and Lombardi being finished with proper access and sidewalks before houses get, I don't know. So can you update us on the sequence of the roads and how that traffic would impact the existing neighborhoods?
Sure. One of the big elements out there is the need for a traffic signal at Westwood and Westfield. During the environmental and traffic analysis, it was found that even prior to this project, the signal was already warranted. And because of that, we incorporated it into the capital budget, and we are starting to begin, or reach out to our consultant to begin that design. But it's not just, let's do the signal and it's done with. Because of the geometrics of the roadway, there will have to be some profile changes to Westwood because of how large of a hump Westfield would create traveling east and west. And you don't want somebody becoming airborne through there in an emergency or something. So the traffic signal is going to trigger that, and with that, there's that lift station 18 that needs to be relocated because of the capacity impact. Along with that, there also needs to be force mains to be upgraded because they're substandard. So that's going to go several hundred feet into Westfield, east of Westwood. And so all in all, we just need the entire, or the project to cover a lot of elements. The signal at Westwood and Westfield, the sewer lift station upgrade in that same location, and the road reconstruction to widen out that Westwood Street to its ultimate width between Henderson and Westfield. And so it's a big package that we're starting to get moving on through some consultant help. And the hopes would be that we have final plans late summer to early fall of 2023. And we'll need some additional time for the permitting for the Porter Slough.
Okay. I'd like to see it go as fast as possible, you know, and I know that you guys are working as hard as you can on so many different things. I don't want to hold anything up. Again, my final concern, Mayor, is that this little easement, there's a little access road that is headed northbound out of the subdivision. And if we grant this little easement, is there going to be, you know, I know the developer doesn't build it like this, but I have seen developments where they just throw down some cold patch and that's your way out of the subdivision, right into the school where the buses come and go, dropping kids off. And then they hang a right, headed eastbound, then they turn right on Lombardi that's already impacted. And I don't know if our code would allow a development to start, like at the end of Castle right now that's headed kind of into that area. There's barriers up, the white barriers where you can't go any further. On some of these streets that would be coming into these already impacted neighborhoods, can we put up barriers that they can't use those roads, but they can finish the sidewalks and everything else, and maybe, you know, when everything else is done, pull them up and, you know, traffic flows.
Correct.
Safe.
On the first review of the plans, if I recall right, there was about 5 dead ends, and at least 2 of them were going to require temporary cul-de-sac bowls in order for emergency vehicles or refuse vehicles to turn around. Those that are no deeper than 2 lots can just stay as a true dead end, similar to what you observe there at Matthew and Castle. A finished road will go from the subdivision half that's being developed out to Westwood, you know, full improvements. It wouldn't be temporary. And that we did see that proposed on the improvement plans.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sanchez. Madam Mayor, I don't have any other thoughts right at this instant.
Okay. Anyone else?
Yeah, Madam Mayor, may I ask a question? With this tentative map, how does sending the traffic through residents solve the F rating condition of traffic in this area?
It really, well, the F rating is at those certain intersections, which one will be helped by the Westwood-Westfield traffic signal, but all the smaller residential to connections to Westfield and Lombardi, it's just going to give them other points of access to disperse.
And you're talking about going through the residents for that disperse. So there's no access to a main road other than Lombardi or going through the residents to get to Westwood. And I just can only imagine in the future having to take a right or left on Westwood and how that would build traffic in that residence. And so my thought is how, if we vote on this tonight and it passes through, are we following through with this tentative map?
Well, the tentative map was already approved.
Right.
And so now it's just a ministerial process of, as long as the final map is in substantial conformance with the tentative, there are no reasons to deny it.
It's something that stands out to me in this resolution is Monte Reyes, who represented that district, voted no, while the rest of the council voted yes. So just judging, looking at it, reading it, it almost feels that he was bullied. My concern is adding 229 more parcels, which could increase, you know, at least 460 more vehicles into this area. And not all of those vehicles are going to be out at the same time, but I can imagine it's going to add another 100, 200 cars out having to get to work or whatever it is they're doing in the morning, in the evening. And it's not going to solve the issue. It's only going to increase the problem. And so I have a hard time voting this forward as of now. I have some suggestions on how we can maybe mitigate the problem. I'm not coming off as if it's your fault or the city's fault. I know that we annexed this area, and it was a county and school issue, right? And it's in a poor location, and it's something that now we have to eat. If we were able to bring traffic in one way through Westwood, if we made Westwood four lanes, and then where it goes to single lanes to go over the canal, if we were able to make traffic go along the canal and make it one way to come in at that end of the cul-de-sac, and then send traffic towards Lombardi, and then they have an exit through Pioneer to Castle in the future and down to Westwood. And people could still double back through the residence with what we put here to come out on Westwood. Is this something that's already passed to where we can't address the tentative map? The issues?
Well, are those improvements part of the tentative map? I guess the question I have. I'm not sure that they all are.
No.
The
Yeah.
tentative map itself is already approved, so whatever the roads shown within the subdivision would be subject to the tentative map. But if we're talking about improvements to other streets, I don't know, I'd have to look at it.
Right, the tentative did not propose any other access points or roads beyond what you've seen.
Right, so the access points are probably already governed by the tentative map.
Right.
Correct, yeah.
Yeah, so it doesn't solve the problem of having two egresses, right? There's not, I have a hard time approving something that's just going to send traffic back into the residence. I don't like the way it's set up. That's my opinion on it, and I'm going to have a hard time voting forward with it.
I'm just going to make one comment, and I'm going to just say it's not specific and it's not directed, it's just a comment. Westwood is already congested anyway with all the schools that are out there. You have the Burton School, and then you have that other school that's out there. Yes, and then you have the one that's in the homes right in there with the Burton School. It's all Burton schools, so you can go on Westwood at any time during school hours, and you're going to be congested. I have been on this Lombardi and have done the same thing. And then you have the high school, you have the congestion from the traffic from the high school right around the corner. Once again, when the state determines they're going to build a school, it doesn't matter what we say, because we've said it and we've told them all the information, all the conversations, and guess what? The school is built. And then we have to deal with all of the other things that come with it. And I'm just saying, there's been numerous
I can kind of give us the legal issue we have here is the city's in the rock and the hard place here.
Yes.
But what we cannot do, and here is the problem, herein lies the problem, we cannot require this private property owner, the developer, to basically clean up a mess that it is not responsible for, because it is not creating the issue.
Agreed.
And so that is that is ultimately why, frankly, the subdivision, the tentative map was ultimately approved, because the feeling was we're not going to restrict the private property rights here, because of the issue that's been created out there. And there's all kinds of history as to why that happened, and it probably had to do with other private property owners wanting to have sort of that, the benefit. But it is what it is, and so, we're trying to make the best of it, and I think that the staff's feeling on it was that ultimately, this subdivision does help the situation out there. Does it fix it? Is it like gonna, wipe, like a switch and fix it completely? No, but it actually helps more than hinders it. At least that was my understanding when we had the discussion, that the improvements that will be associated with will actually do some good. It's not going to alleviate it completely, and I know that's frustrating for the owners that are already out there.
Mayor?
Just a moment. Councilmember Wyrick has a question, then I'll bring it to you.
Is it okay? Okay, 'cause I don't mind waiting.
No, go ahead.
Well, I remember as a youngster, I used to have to walk a couple blocks and catch a school bus. And I don't know why the school districts And I'm not throwing anything at the school districts and busing, and I know parents like to take the kids to school and pick them up from school. So they're kind of, maybe need to get involved with the school boards a little bit and maybe find another solution. But to my earlier point, we're working already. The staff has already put together plans and budgets to fix the arterial roads. A subdivision can't be approved if the arterial roads can't support the added volume. Is that correct?
Correct.
So after this map is approved, no matter what we do today, eventually it's going to, let's say it's going to happen. There's still the whole permitting process and the scheduling and all of that. And the city council has a little bit of say in that, correct?
Sorry, I thought I was on there.
It's rhetorical.
So when it comes to the public improvements, absolutely. I mean, I know that, like I think Javier mentioned, one of the improvements will be, it's going to be paid for by the city. It's just a matter of whether the developer does it or the city does it, right? Given the timing of everything. So, but I think the goal is to have the public improvements done when the subdivision's done, so that then you're not having the situation you're worried about, which is, cart before the horse, having that subdivision out there without the proper infrastructure in place to handle it.
Yeah.
So.
And then lastly, if I may, the other, I don't know, situation that's been developed is Lombardi just doesn't go through to Castle. And I don't want to beat that dead horse, but there's some other plans that are in place. And I haven't seen one yet that shows some type of Lombardi extension over to near Castle, and then you make a left on Matthew and punch Matthew through to West Grand. But there's lots of other ways to get traffic out of the area. I'm not here to debate that. I just really think the roads around the area can handle the traffic once the roads are improved. Moving a lift station, though, is going to be an expensive project.
It will be, yes.
And because of that need, that's going to have to be in partnership with probably some developers, possibly?
Again, what we're finding is that it's likely that sewer lift station's already impacted, so
Okay.
it would be on the city either as a capital project or a master plan reimbursement, in this case for this developer.
Can you speak on behalf of the city, how long it generally takes from a master plan approval until the first 50 houses are built? What's that time frame typically? 18 months, 28 months?
A master plan approval for
For
reimbursement?
a subdivision, and then the first 20 houses being occupied?
I guess I'm not understanding the question.
Do we have time to fix those perimeter roads at the city level so that by the time the homes are occupied, there's no impact on the streets?
The only requirement will be that all the internal streets be paved.
Just the internal?
Right. Because it was found that the major intersections are already impacted. Or if so there is something on the developer, it's just going to be, like for instance at Lombardi and Westfield, they just have to stripe a dedicated left and right turn lane.
Okay. Thank you.
Vice Mayor. I think I'm okay. You're okay? Councilmember Beltran?
Yeah, I'll just add a little bit. I've driven through there. My son will be graduating from Lombardi this year. So I've been through there for 6 years, and I've wasted many hours in that line. And much like Greg has talked about, I have a little bit of background in engineering. I was studying it for a year. And I understand progress is good and we need homes. That's going to help. I honestly don't see even though Westfield and Westwood are major thoroughfares to handle traffic, putting that many homes in that dense area is not going to make any bit of difference. It's going to add to the problem. I already know. I've seen it in other subdivisions throughout the community. And unfortunately, we're dealing with something that we didn't cause. So I know you guys are doing the best you can. The only other question is, are there going to be any other signals maybe on Lombardi and Westfield? Because that backs up, it's probably the worst backup, is coming off of Lombardi. Is it possible to put another signal light there, or that's too close to the intersection of Westfield and Westwood?
The traffic counts, even post-project, if that's fully developed, did not trigger a signal yet. So it would have to be, post-project and then population growth to generate enough trips to finally trigger that improvement.
So a line a mile long of cars doesn't, doesn't trigger that?
The thing is, it's temporary. It doesn't even trigger the peak hour warrant to trigger the signal. So even though there's a lot of frustration and backup, it's a 15 to 20 minute window. And when you take it over a 1 hour period, it doesn't create the impact that everybody thinks it does.
It's the environment, see, it's the nuisance impact is not what is considered, it's by law, it's the environment, that's what we can look at when we're looking at the impacts of a development, it's the environmental impact.
60 cars idling?
So the fact that I know,
100
you would
cars idling.
think, right? You would think in California that would, but it does not.
I got you. It's just, again, yeah, when you're in it for 45 minutes to an hour every lunch break, you're like, who planned this? Yeah. Thank you.
I know that there are family members that leave really earlier. They know not to get on traffic on Westwood within certain hours. They either have to leave 20 minutes before or they have to wait. But it's at any given location where there is a school and there are a lot of people trying to get in. And I understand. I have to tell you, Westwood was very desolate because I was raised and we lived in the house. That's when it was all fields. It was in all orchards. And there were only 1 or 2 homes on Westwood, except for the ones across from Burton School. That was years ago, Avenue 168, which is Castle. Well, I lived on that street too, so I know it very well. And once again, what I concern myself with is that you have an owner that has a piece of property and that we cannot really, if the owner is complying with doing and filing their applications and everything that they need to do it right, I have a concern that we place ourselves in a malleable position to that regard. So, Councilmember Wyrick, you're here.
Madam Mayor, may I ask 2 more questions?
Okay.
What is the impact if we vote no on this? What would be the impact?
It would just mean that the city could not act on that irrevocable offer presented to them by the school district. But because it is a condition of approval for the project, they would have to find a way to take ownership of that and then dedicate it back to the city through their final map.
Can do, I mean, they can receive it from the school district, the developer can receive it and then dedicate it. So, but it will take more time. And I think that was this is a way to streamline getting the improvements done, correct? Is that my understanding, Javier? Or at least help?
It helps, yes.
Yeah.
Now, when we were talking about the improvements and the final map that's coming forward, will we have an opportunity to voice our opinions on ways that we think? I know there's not solving this problem just because of the location. It's just it's a bad spot. And I'm not trying to point fingers, but I think there's a better way of doing it just to make traffic flow a little easier. If we can make those adjustments, is that something that we'll be able to do in the future?
May I say something now? So I think every time there's been a new council member and then this issue has come up, I was one of them, that I needed more information. Because part of this is who owns that and whose project is that. Part of it is the engineering piece. Like we all have great ideas of, can we just drive a road through here or there? But I think there's these engineering aspects and ownership aspect. So I think maybe we just need another overview of some of those things, those roadblocks and concerns. And we've had some strong ones, I know, from prior council members, including myself, about this major issue. And part of it was brought up because of the constituents that came in with this issue. Maybe that would be a good help for some information more about the things that have gone on. I don't know, or have we beat that to death?
I have talked. Jason has informed me. the staff has been great as far as trying to catch me up with the issue. There's no doubt.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, we are limited with regard to our approval of the, under the Subdivision Map Act, we're limited with regard to what can be considered when you're looking at tentative versus final. And I don't know, it would just really depend specifically on the proposal. But substantial deviations are probably going to be difficult. And honestly, they've probably been a lot, I know that staff has considered this and then reconsidered this as far as how to do this. And part of the issue too is cost. I mean, anytime we make a change with regard to public improvements, like you said, it may impact private improvements and having to purchase or potentially condemn, which we really don't want to get into an eminent domain if we can avoid it. So there's those issues. I mean, there's all kinds of, consequences when we're looking at a design. So, I mean, I'm always open to, because I believe in to the extent you can be creative when it comes to government. But then we also have these laws that sometimes tie our hands a little bit. So I don't think staff is opposed to, is ever opposed to looking at alternative solutions if possible. But we are going, we have a tentative map and we have legal obligations tied to the tentative map.
Please, go ahead.
Great discussion, I love it. Right now, it's a gift to the city. If we don't and the developer buys it, we're going to have to buy it.
Right.
Secondly, the recommendation that I see here, approve the draft resolution accepting the irrevocable offer of dedication from Burton School District to California Public School District. If we just stop there, if we accept it, we don't automatically have to transfer it to San Joaquin Valley Homes. Is that correct?
So what this action would be is that the city would be accepting that irrevocable offer and turning it from a private drive for that school to a city road that we'd have to start maintaining.
And even if the map is complete, we do not have to allow them to use that improved frontage road until we're ready with the other surface streets. So we have the authority to help that developer choose other improved access points
I think
with
that's
traffic
true,
signals.
right? I believe that's true because the timing of it would be for temporary purposes. I think what he's getting at is ultimately that's what it's for, but we may be able to control that with regard to timing in the subdivision improvement agreement or whatever with regard to making sure that it gets, they are utilizing. So there may be some flexibility there. I don't know off the cuff. I mean, I'll be frank with you, I don't know off the cuff, but we could look for that potentially there.
Well,
I like that with what legal counsel has added to it with
Javier,
regard to the temporary use.
Yeah, but I want to hear what Javier has to say because he's the technical guy.
I want to see Javier's expression now.
So the intent of this item was just to catch up on what should have been done, like, what are we now, over 10 years ago, 11 years, that the county should have accepted this irrevocable offer. For some reason, they didn't. Now here we are, it's turning the city, now it's on us. We're not intending to take this over, like, say if you take action today approving it, we're not going to sign this and get it recorded and now we own it. It's just to clear this old roadblock out of the way so that when the final map and improvements are all done, it's not forgotten. And then when somebody's trying to final a house, it's like, oh my goodness, we don't even have legal ownership of that road. We're just trying to get this approval, but then it's the intent of staff to just have this piece complete, but we're going to sit on it until the final map advances enough to where it gets to a state of approval that when we have that map that's ready to get taken to the recorder's office is when we'll be sending our documentation accepting this dedication.
But once that's all done, we still don't have to finish that roadway, and the developer can't use it until we're ready to finish that roadway, if you know what I mean, because we're ready to finish that roadway after all the other improvements are done, and that'll keep the traffic from flowing in. Westwood is still going to be impacted. Westfield's still going to be impacted until we punch Lombardi through. I see a chief here, and I've often thought that if it's during school hours and people are dropping their kids off or picking them up, how in the world are you guys going to get in there? And I just don't want to see those surface roads like Greg and everybody up there. We don't want to see more impact where you guys can't get in unless you got to unlock a fence and go down a gravel road to get in the back way or flying in a helicopter. That's just not acceptable.
Yeah.
Any comments?
Yeah, no, I appreciate you thinking of public safety in our response. Access and egress are always a concern of ours. Our staff is well-trained and we're well-prepared to respond to that location. We are able to overcome some issues, but luckily we've been able to put in some systems, some lock systems that allow us to gain access. It's not ideal going through the rear location, but we do have a secondary access in place.
Thank you.
All right.
Madam Mayor, one more point. I know it's getting late. Do I have your permission?
Yes.
I-
One more.
Fire is important, but police access also is critical, and I can't, this is why I talk about the flow of traffic in this area. You know, there's been increasing shootings around our country at schools, and God forbid it happens in Porterville, but if something happens at rush hour traffic time, this is going to be a huge issue with getting police, those services in to protect those kids. So I can't go forward with the way that it's laid out right now. I know that I'm just one vote, but I would like to see the map address those issues, the traffic flow.
I see that Chief Costello is on Zoom. Do you have any comment?
I'm here to answer any questions. We have responded to critical incidents at that school during high volumes of traffic. We have worked with the school district on the issues of the vehicles parking to the right or to the left, so it does give us the entry point off of Westfield onto Lombardi. I personally responded to emergency incidents at that school over the last decade and a half or so, and we've been able to address the entry into those schools during rush hour traffic, but it is also a concern, like Chief Cogburn was saying. But we've had traffic collisions, we've had medical incidents at the school. We've also had individuals where we've had to take into custody near or around that school. And we've addressed it with our officers and training on the entry into that school area.
Okay. Any more comment? Any more questions? I'm going to bring it back to council, and where is it that you'd like to go with the recommendation?
I'll try, and I'll ask council to help me with verbiage. I don't mind the first part of this recommendation where, and I'd almost like to make a motion, but I'm not making a motion yet, to approve the draft resolution accepting the irrevocable offer of dedication from the Burton School District to California Public School District and hold it in trust until such a time as city council or the final map is approved and surface streets per the general plan have been improved to their high flow status, you know, with the lights involved and the road widenings in place.
Well, I think we're going to need it. It needs to be, the offer of dedication needs to be accomplished prior to the filing and approval of them, or at least at the time of the approval of the map, correct? Is that my understanding of how it works? So that part is okay. I think that we won't be, we cannot, we can't hold the legal title part of it until improvement, but we can, maybe you could probably maybe include, instead of doing that, direct staff to look at ways to legally restrict the use of it until the improvements are finished, right? Is that what you're trying to do, Councilmember Wyrock?
I am.
Okay.
I am. I mean, it's infill. I know an Orchard went away, and I haven't even gotten to the plan of what % of agricultural property we're taking and versus foothill property, but I think that would be fine.
Okay.
Is staff comfortable with that idea before we have consider a second on it?
The only concern I'd have is that if that access is restricted, how would that access function for the school? then we're cutting off that whole cul-de-sac for
They're
them.
using it now.
So you're not intending to cut the cul-de-sac off, it's,
Everything stays the same, and we just put a barrier where their road's gonna punch through, and they can't use Bryan or those access onto Lombardi. They have to go out at Westwood, even if it's driving through the new subdivision. That's phase 2 anyways, that's not gonna be built first, from what I've seen. You know, if they build up by Westwood first, possibly, then they just go out, and they don't even have to use the east side of that subdivision until it gets built. And we just restrict the access. I mean, I see that all over town now.
For clarification, I just want to, on the map, it shows an access point
It
in this
does.
area here. So my question is that, is what you're requesting would be that that access point be blocked, and so that individuals from the proposed or the approved tentative map who would be living in this area not be able to access Bryan from that direction?
Temporarily, though, my
Even if
understanding.
you want to build the roads and put in all the infrastructure, put K-rail across there and, you know, the delineators or whatever, the traffic control devices to show that that's a closed access point until we get the forklift out there and open it up. I mean, I'm all for improving the street. I'm not for pushing people out onto Bryan and then down onto Lombardi. That whole east side of that development will impact existing homes and the school traffic, even if the police and the fire can't get in there. The parents that live there now are just going to struggle with that. A nuisance impact.
I'm
That would be-
confused.
But the
Please go
temporary is
ahead.
until what, though? Until what improvements are done? Or what are we waiting for to allow that?
Signal lights on Westwood.
Is that what?
Improvements.
Maybe if they come out and they turn right and head up towards Westfield, at the opposite end here at the bottom of the map, if they turn to the right and head up to Westwood, that's different. We don't have to get the pump station all moved and all of that. But, you know, I guess this will be my motion, and we can vote yea or nay, to approve the draft resolution accepting the irrevocable offer of dedication from Burton School District, a California public school district, and have the city clerk not record the irrevocable offer of dedication in the office of the Tulare County Recorder upon the city receiving the final subdivision map for the Brookside subdivision, but holding it until such a time that City Council approves the improvements, final completion of the surface streets Westwood, Lombardi, Bryan, and Westfield.
So we would be holding the recordation until approval of when are the improvements planned?
Maybe we
Javier?
don't hold if we record it, they can build it, they can do whatever they want if it's recorded.
No, I think that's I don't think we can do that
That's-
because
that's what
that'll
I
get in the
wanna
way of the
hold.
final map recording. But I know what you're saying, though. You want to hold it after that so that until the improvements are built. When exactly are the improvements planned? Are we going to try to do that consistent with the development, or is it planned out further?
no, it is scheduled for this fiscal year. We will be talking with our consultant to accelerate that design. But it's likely that the plans wouldn't be ready for bidding until late summer to early fall.
And and we don't know when the subdivision's planned to get done, so we don't have.
No, so let's say they get an approved final map by the same timeline. They'll have to put in all the infrastructure and pave the roads before they can take occupancy of a house. So the first resident to live here would probably be out like spring to summer of 2024.
Okay. So then I think that the reason why I'm asking this is making sure we're not
Right.
making a motion that's going to be an
Make it worse.
impossibility
Yeah.
to do.
Possible.
So, but it sounds like that it should be, we can probably do this, but it just means that the pressure's going to be on the city to get those improvements done.
Right, because otherwise we're holding up the developer and they have an approved map. They're building the east half strategically to deal with some of the bigger ticket items on the second phase.
Okay.
And again, the environmental backs up being able to do that.
So the bigger ticket items that are put off has bitten us in the rear a few times around town. And, you know, I trust the developers, but, you know, and I think the world of them. I met a few this last week on that meeting with you gentlemen. Thank you very much for the invitation to attend. I don't know what I want to say.
So really what you're wanting to do is restrict the access points until those improvements, until the improvements are done.
On the surface streets.
Right.
But can they take occupancy? Will our code allow occupancy if those roads aren't open?
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to delay move-in dates and occupancy finals. So if staff could get back, maybe can we put this off, Madam Mayor, until
I
second
know
week in
that the
January?
vice mayor had a question.
I think, because I'm trying to sort through what's being asked and what we can do, because if a motion came in a second, I wouldn't know how to vote at this point.
Yeah.
Because that second has drastically changed. But I want to understand what we're voting on, so I can vote yes or no on it. And I think when we start saying restricting, obtaining the road so that we can restrict access, isn't that what we're already has an issue with? So I
get the point, though. I think what he's saying is he's trying to restrict it where it's right in front of the school, right? I mean, that's basically because those are punching. Is that what it's like we don't want to add directly to the issue, right, that's happening.
But the road's already there. We're just trying to get access to move forward with the project and
Just the access of
planning.
it's the additional buildings the additional homes that are there. And I think you're right. I think timing is probably not going to end up being an issue here, but we are dealing with a lot of hypotheticals right now, and maybe the best
Yeah.
answer is to go ahead and get these answers to the questions so that you guys have it and can make a decision before and I don't know, is that okay if we put it off? And maybe what we need to do.
It is, yes. We're still, improvement plans are still, we're awaiting the second submittal. We haven't seen the final map because there are, the biggest issue is figuring out the sewer infrastructure.
Right. And so this was a housekeeping item that we probably have a little bit of time on. So we
Correct.
can spend the
Okay.
time getting these answers, and then maybe that way everybody can feel better about whatever decision they ultimately want to make here.
The offer
So,
doesn't have a deadline for
No.
this granting of the.
No,
no, because it's a
Okay.
requirement. They
Okay.
have to do
Thank
it.
you.
It's
With
standing
all-
out there
I'm going to
until we.
bring it back, and I'm going to summarize. There's been a lot of discussion, a lot of dialogue, and there is no right and there is no wrong. We're here to bring a solution. We're going to work toward a solution on a consensus, whether or not, but I believe there is information that has been discussed, and we would like to see perhaps put something together. And I am in agreement, if council is in agreement, that we bring it back next year. I'm always saying that. Bring it
So
back
a
next year.
motion to table.
We're going to just carry it over. We're not making a decision. Do we need, we don't need to do anything since we're not making a decision.
If you can go ahead and by consensus, just continue it to the
Let's
next meeting or
continue it
table it
to a
until the staff
meeting.
brings it back. Yeah.
Until staff brings it back. It's just a continuance of the same item to another council meeting. And we're all in agreement?
So we're not going forward with it.
No, we're just going to
discuss
continue
more
it.
on
We're going to, okay.
I like that.
All right. It's a pardon me?
I'm sorry, I'm trying to understand. What did you say, Fernando? No, because there was no second.
There
but
was
thank
no
you.
second to it, so it died. That's why there was no recommendation.
I apologize. I'm a rookie.
Please.
One more thing. Does staff need an understanding of what we're asking for? Because they probably feel
I
they've
think
brought
Julie
everything.
took a lot of notes.
Okay.
I think that Javier and I understand what the concerns that were expressed were, and there were a couple things that came up. There were questions with regard to the extent of what's approved by the tentative versus the final map, so I can get you, just confirm the legal questions that Councilmember Meister had.
Correct.
There were questions from Councilmember Wyrock concerning timing and coordination of improvements and to what extent we can restrict the use of potentially improvements that were done via the subdivision until those other infrastructure improvements are done. So I think, did I summarize those issues? Okay, so I think we're good.
All right, we will just continue this item and we'll move on.
Nicely
We have a
done.
consensus. We will move on. And now I am going to adjourn to a meeting of the successor agency to the Porterville Redevelopment Agency. And where's Mr. Lawless? Jason went to go get them, okay.
Yeah, he did.
We'll wait till he comes in.
On to item 16.
We are going into the successor agency.
We're still waiting.
And then
Oh,
when we
finance
adjourn-
is in charge of this. I bet you this is Ms. Bemis's report, so,
Oh, and she will not turn on her machine.
but I think I
I
can
can-
defer to Maria. Would you like to give the staff report on the successor agency?
Okay, just a moment, do we have to wait for the city manager on this one? Are you authorizing us?
I don't think you have to.
Okay, well, let's,
Oh, we do need to do oral communications.
that's what I'm going on with. We have the roll call, we've done that, we're all here. And then we have no written communication. Do we have any oral communications?
And see,
We don't have any oral communications. All right. We will now move on to the successor agency scheduled matters.
Sure. Okay, give me a second. Okay. Okay, so you have two items before you, then I'll let Maria.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Lawless. Madam Chair and members of the board, the successor agency to the former Porterville Redevelopment Agency was established in 2011 to administer the enforceable obligations and to unwind the affairs of the redevelopment agency. The enforceable obligations of the agency are set forth in the recognized obligation payment schedule, what we call the ROPS, which includes the required minimum payment amounts and the due dates of each obligation. It also documents the amount of RPTTF, or the Redevelopment Property Tax Trust Fund claim required to pay for those obligations. The ROPS is required to be submitted and certified by the Countywide Oversight Board for the County of Tulare, which will meet on January 13, 2023. And the oversight approved ROPS together with the resolution, the OB resolution, is then filed with the California Department of Finance for approval. For the fiscal year 23-24, the total obligations and RPTTF claim amount amounts to $500,332, which include $486,832 in debt service payments due to the on the tax allocation refunding bonds. Recommendation is that the board of the successor agency adopt the draft resolution approving the administrative budget attached and the recognized obligation payment schedule for fiscal year 23-24, provided that should any modification be required to the ROPS, the finance director shall be authorized to make such modification and direct the successor agency staff to submit the ROPS to the Countywide Oversight Board for approval, and the approved ROPS to the County Auditor Controller, the State Controller's Office, and the California Department of Finance by February 1st, 2023. That's my report. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much for the report. I'm going to ask council, how do you wish to proceed? Do you have any questions? Do you have any concerns? Any motion for staff recommendation?
I have a quick question. The spreadsheet that was provided with items 15 through 25 on the July 1, 23 through June 30, 24 recognized obligation payment schedule, when I printed it out on the agenda, the right-hand column's completely missing. I'm sure all the numbers balance up, but this obligation is $10.8 million. Is that correct?
The total obligation for the fiscal year is $500,332.
$32. Thank you. And the total outstanding is 10.8. Thank you. I have no other questions.
Thank you very much. Are there any other questions? Any concerns? All right, since Maria did such an exemplary report, I'm going to go ahead and make the motion that we accept staff recommendation of the successor agency items number 1 through 3, the adoption of the draft resolution approving the administrative budget and the recognized obligation payment schedule for the period July 1, 2023 through June 30, 2024, et cetera, provided that any modifications be required to the ROPS. 2023-24, the finance director shall be authorized to make such modification. Direct successor agency staff to submit the ROPS 2023-24 to the county-wide oversight board for approval, and direct successor agency staff to submit the oversight board approved ROPS 2023-24 to the county auditor controller, the state controller's office, and the California Department of Finance. That is the motion.
I'll second that.
And a second. Any further discussion? If not, call for the vote. Passes unanimous, 5-0. We'll move on to the next item.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the board. The Health and Safety Code allows successor agencies to file a last and final ROPS after receiving a finding of completion, and when the remaining debt is limited to the administrative costs and obligations that have been previously listed on the ROPS and approved for payment by the Department of Finance. The successor agency received its finding of completion in August of 2013 and has met all the other conditions required by the code. So staff has prepared the last and final ROPS for the period July 1, 2024 to June 30, 2041, establishing the maximum amount of RPTTF to be distributed to the agency for each of the remaining fiscal year until all the obligations have been fully paid. As for the annual ROPS, the last and final ROPS is required to be approved by the countywide oversight board and submitted to DOF for approval. So for the 18 years, total outstanding obligation amounts to $7.9 million, including debt service and the tax allocation refunding bonds of $7.7 million. Staff recommendation is that the board of the successor agency adopt the draft resolution approving the last and final ROPS, provided that should any modification be required, the finance director shall be authorized to make such modification, and direct staff to submit the last and final ROPS to the countywide oversight board and to the California Department of Finance for review and approval. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Does council have any questions for Maria? I hear none. Does council have any comment? All right, any recommendation? Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we adopt in the draft resolution approving the last and final recognized obligation payment schedule, provided that, am I okay there? Just going through the, okay, and then directing staff to submit the last and final ROPS and directing staff to transmit the oversight board approved last and final ROPS.
I'll second that.
We have a motion, we have a second. If there is no discussion, call for the vote, please. Passes unanimous, 5-0. We will now adjourn back to the meeting of the Porterville City Council, and we will take up the AB 1234 report, and we will begin with Tulare County Economic Development. And that would be Mr. Lawless.
Thank you, Your Honor. There was a very brief meeting that happened on that day where there was a review of current financials for the organization as well as prospect activity. Meeting lasted 15 minutes.
Thank you. I'm glad we didn't drive.
Glad
over
we
there.
did not
There
drive
was
to
no drive
Visalia.
over there,
We'd
and
have
that
spent
was-
an hour and a half driving for a 15-minute meeting
Yes, thank you.
at 7:30 in the morning,
All
after a
right.
council meeting.
Yeah. Then the next one is Link, committee meeting of December the 7th. I believe Jason will be doing that one.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor. Yes, the Link Committee held on December the 7th. At the meeting, a new chair was nominated and voted in. It was Ms. Sylvia Martinez, who's been active part of the Link Committee for some time now, and is a retiree from Social Security Administration, so we're thankful for her participation and leadership there. It was reported that the PWC, that they still serve 75 to 80 people daily and are planning a Christmas dinner for the residents incorporating the arts. The committee also committed again to assist the Kings Tulare Homeless Alliance at their annual point-in-time survey. And a quick survey what was done, the role of the committee to decide. Again, they'll work with hygiene kits to distribute to the individuals being surveyed. And they'll also be collecting items such as beanies, gloves, in addition to the hygiene essentials. Monetary donations are also being accepted so they can purchase additional items and gift cards for grocery stores that are often also passed out. They'll continue to meet, and I think they had a second meeting after the 7th that a council member will report on. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now move on to the Leadership Porterville Local Government Day. That is one that the Vice Mayor and I participated in, and I'll go ahead and have her start.
I'll just do a brief overview. So we came in here to Chambers and met with the Porterville leadership, and they didn't really have a lot of questions, which I thought we were going to ask questions. They just wanted to know a little bit about our role, but also our background and what led us to seek office and that kind of thing. So I thought it was good being there with the mayor because we have very different routes of backgrounds, but also how we came about to serve on city council. And I do see it as serving the community, not as really a power spot, but more of like, how do we serve this city and community and work with the departments that provide all the services. I talked just a little bit about my background in tribal government and administration, not just working with my own tribe, but the previous organization I worked for had 13 federally recognized tribes in a consortium on the east and west side of the Sierra Nevada, so, and then throughout the Central Valley, providing various services to Native American communities, urban, rural, and reservation, and then coming into local government, similar in some ways and unsimilar in other ways, but also just being from a federally recognized tribe here in Tulare County. We kind of talked about that and the relationship and just that, you know, it's a unique time in history where we partner with the tribe and have some really good partnership projects in progress. And then just talked about current role, serving on city council and serving on numerous committees and what those look like and learning the different aspects of city and government and service. So yeah, we just shared a lot about ourselves in a short period of time to the Porterville leadership. I really enjoyed it.
And I want to echo a portion of that. It was actually good to be involved and engaged because this is the leadership class, the new one for 2023. And they wanted to know more of what we do, how we got involved, and I indicated that I sat in city council chambers for 13 years, but that I'm retired school district and that I also had served as an elected on the hospital board. But I began in nonprofit service organizations, in various organizations here locally, and began involved in community service as a volunteer. Then I decided to place myself in decision-making committees to that regard. Then I shared with our responsibilities on the committees that we serve beyond city council. I thought it was there was a young man said, oh yeah, everybody thinks I'm the mayor because I know everybody. And I'm saying, well, part of our responsibilities on the dais are to be attending other committee meetings. And we attend, I shared all of the ones that I was involved in and how important it is for us to be at the table at all of these meetings, especially when they talk about funding. I shared that with TCAG. Right now, we're working to go back to Washington, D.C., and that you learn to work with the congressman, you learn to work with your state officials, you learn to work with the assembly, and just tying it all in. And I thought there were going to be a lot more questions, but there really weren't any. I also shifted a little bit because to be an elected official, I highlighted and I emphasized being involved on political campaigns is where I learned and got to meet a lot of people, that each time I became involved, that I served on numerous, and I also worked on bond initiatives, how you form your committee, how you form your team, how you set your platform, and how you have your fair political practice. That is a total different window from what we have to do to submit reports as we're running, and we continue to submit conflict of interest reports to that regard. So it was good to have this conversation. I shared with them the organizational structure of the city. I was visualizing the flow chart, and I let them know that there are only two people that we hire, which is the city manager and our legal counsel, and we went from there. But it was a good day. It was a good morning. I wish there was more time, but it was good. And I want to thank Virginia Gurola for extending that invitation to us, because she coordinates that for everybody on the leadership panel. Okay. Calvan's board, Vice Mayor.
So the California Van Pool Authority Joint Powers Authority Board of Directors meeting was held Thursday, December 8th, and these are virtual. So that was good because I didn't have to travel anywhere, and hopefully the meeting was still good. We met, and the way this agenda is structured, it pretty much stays the same. There's a consent agenda with minutes, and they approve the upcoming 2023 calendar, which is very helpful to see that those meetings kind of stay consistent so that I can be in attendance. We get some staff updates and system updates on how it's the fleet activity. And then we have other business. One of the really good things is informational items from the executive director and the staff and board, so we get some updates on that. And then we did go into a closed session. Particularly one was the executive director's evaluation, and then we had a conference with legal counsel. And that was it. It was basically 1 hour long, pretty condensed meeting, and I will just try to focus on things when I attend those specific to Tulare County that would be relevant to us.
Thank you. PATA was canceled. Tulare County Regional Transit Agency, Councilmember Wyrock.
Thank you. The Tulare County Regional Transit Agency met on December 8th at 6 p.m. in Visalia, California, and it was open to the public and held via Zoom for those that couldn't be directly in attendance or who chose to come in from the community. Toll-free number is also available. And for the record, I'd like to read the toll-free call-in number so that anybody wishing to attend the Tulare County Regional Transit Agency, you can find the agenda and the hyperlinks on their website. And the toll-free call-in number is 888-475-4499. The meeting ID and passcode may change. I'm not sure, so I won't share those at this time. But we did have the call to order, a welcome and a roll call. We had a quorum. We held the Pledge of Allegiance, and there was no public comment. We had a closed session item. There were no closed session items, pardon me. We reconvened the open session. There's two reports that were on the agenda. One is the Safety Committee, and the other is the Sustainability Committee. And there were no reports given on either of those. We're looking forward to seeing and hearing about the Safety Committee at our January meeting. Richard Tree is always really good at keeping us updated on both of those committees. There was a presentation, and we saw part of that presentation at a city council meeting here recently from our director, Richard Tree, so I won't go into that. There was some information shared, an informational item number 7A, the Brown Armstrong Engagement Letter. It's a third-party audit for fiscal year-end June 30, 2020. They were hired and retained to do this audit. We should have the audit's findings by I think it was the end of January, so we can take a look at how the money's been spent and discuss anything that comes up as it relates to that. Consent calendar, it was motioned and seconded and approved to approve the minutes of November 10 and to continue remote attendance. We did have some action items and some discussion items. The first one was, we talked about it a little bit today, the 2022 amendments to the Brown Act. Social services, and I have some more details there, but here with me, but the meeting minutes are available online again through the Tulare County Regional Transit Authority website, or agency, pardon me. We had a social service technical advisory committee talking about the improvements with technology. And then we did not have a discussion on the Stuff the Bus food campaign. It was on the agenda. It was a joint program between TransDev and the TCRTA. But again, we didn't get the food drive off the ground. There's nothing to discuss there. We shared the director's report that was, again, shared here, and that was that meeting of December the 8th of the Tulare County Regional Transit Agency. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next one is the Children's Christmas Parade. I'm all excited to report this one out because I was the solo member of council who participated this year, and I got to be in a Corvette that was provided by Merle Stone Chevrolet, and I was like, okay. But I want to say it was well attended and grateful that the weather was in the favor of the parade. I specifically want to thank Terry Romero and her daughter for decorating the vehicle. However, Terry also made the arrangements to form my little security team that followed me in the parade, and it was a little security crew that consisted of the children, staff children of Juliana, Luisa, and Rocio. They were having a blast, and they were walking and waving to everybody and just having a really good time. It was good. It was really good because as the children were excited going through the parade, they were all waving. But I also want to thank the police and the fire departments because it was wonderful to see them start the parade. However, the families, all your families and all your children up on the fire engines and those that were in vehicles, and it was good just to see. It was good to see you there and everybody else. But what I really thought was very ironic, Chief Costello, did you get somebody to decorate the SWAT vehicle with the lights? There were lights on that SWAT. Jesus Gallardo did it. Well, he was very proud of that, and I want you to know that because he showed them to me when I first arrived. Thank you for all of that. Also to the officers and to everybody that was on duty that night, I want to thank them because there were several who were working the parade that evening as well. But this also includes Mr. Knight's department, and I know it also includes Mr. Moore's department. I know that every time there is a parade, you are very proactive and you're involved with all of that. But I had fun. It was a good parade. Nice. Okay. The next one is the Tulare County Association of Governments. And we had that meeting on December the 12th. Vice Mayor, Mr. Lawless, and I attended the meeting. We began with a transportation workshop. There were several presentations, then inland port presentation highlighting on efficient supply chain systems, economic benefits planning process, rail, intermodal, truck mobility, and airports. The Caltrans presentation, through the strategic planning, the development of partnerships were emphasized, safety, climate changing, and economic prosperity. They highlighted Tulare County projects, the widening of Tulare City, the Route 99 in the city of Tulare to 6 lanes. They briefly spoke about the interchange on Commercial Avenue, Delano to Pixley, a 6-lane project, Atagus Rehab, Tulare 99 Caldwell Interchange, Lovers Lane Rehab Project. Included in their presentation were several local projects for the different cities. The Clean California program, we are now in cycle 2. The next cycle will begin in 2023. Cities are encouraged to apply. The TCAG's 2022 Walk and Roll Art Contest winners, there were 5. They were provided each with a bicycle, and it pleases me to announce that Porterville had one student who won. She is from Roach Avenue School, Porterville Unified School District. Her name, Elena Bedoya Zavala, and a big congratulations to her because they were all given bicycles for their artwork. The 2023 advocacy trip and high priority projects. With the elections over and redistricting, Porterville is now in Congressman Valadeo District. As we prepare to carry a platform to Washington, D.C., projects were identified. We will continue discussion with TCAG as we prepare earmark projects. Porterville emphasis will be the airport roads, etc. PACE federal government relations presentations. We have our TCAG lobbyists, Scott Lane and Scott Lacey. They provided information and affirmed the trip to D.C. is to establish the relationships with Congress. They have been in communication with them to best address and work with representatives. The political group state presentation was information only. The 2023 federal earmark request, that was covered in the advocacy trip and in the project's presentation. Special recognition award went to Supervisor Pete Vanderpool for his chairmanship leadership on TCAG. A special recognition award went to employee Holly Gallo for her work of going above and beyond. Then we went into our TCAG meeting. On the transportation consent calendar, there were 2 items of action: to reaffirm conditions of state assembly to continue remote attendance at public meetings, and the adoption of the resolution to approve local transportation fund claims for the cities of Dinuba, Exeter, Farmersville, Lindsay, Porterville, Tulare and Woodlake, and for the county of Tulare for the fiscal year 2022-2023. Items of information were standard. I report them out every month. Transportation action discussion items. The item that was brought to the table from legal counsel was the effect of the 2022 amendments to the Brown Act. Mr. Kuhn provided the board with the information to the 3 bills that were signed into law in 2022 by the governor that would amend the Brown Act: Assembly Bill 2449 with regard to teleconferencing, Assembly Bill 2647, the late distributed documents, and Senate Bill 1100 regarding disruption of meetings. Each of us were provided with the information, and it is available on the website as an attachment on the agenda. Caltrans monthly report, nothing to report because it was covered in the presentation. On the association consent calendar, the approval of the October 17, 2022 TCAG board meeting minutes and October 13 technical advisory committee meeting, approval of TCAG meeting calendar, and to reconfirm the cancellation policy. The others were standard consent calendar items would be like clearinghouse review for Oak Valley, Union Elementary, and for Joaquina Joint Unified, the adoption, the approval of amendment number 4 to the fiscal year 2022-23 overall work plan, and to authorize one-year license renewal with public input and reaffirm consultant agreement with Rincon Consultants. All of that was unanimously approved. Under the association action, was the adoption of resolution, the application for Regional Early Action Plan 2.0 funding. There was a public hearing immediately following that with regard to the REAP 2.0 grant application. No public comment, unanimously approved. The adoption of resolution to support the inland port concept and grant application. Information items were to save the dates for the board training and board retreat. Mr. Meister, I'm going to give you that information. Vice Mayor already has, but as my alternate, you're welcome to attend that. Okay, so I will be giving you that information. That concludes my report. The next meeting will be January 23rd. That was a mouthful. Then
Great job.
the Tulare County Water Commission was canceled. And the next one is the city employee luncheon. I'm going to unfold, and then I'll ask Councilmember Wyrock and Councilmember Beltran to add comment. This is something that I look forward to every year since I've been on city council. I remember this venue brought back several memories, especially this year. They used to be held at the library, and council members Hamilton, Stowe, and I would always apron up, and we always worked the food line. We always threw an apron on, and we worked the food line. Also included in that, in the past, working the food line was Councilmember Reyes and Councilmember Tate. It was an opportunity to see and say hi to all the employees as they come through the food line. It was no different this year. I always made sure I either passed out the biscuits or the bolillos. That's an important job, okay? As a matter of fact, in all the years that I have worked the line, Mr. Donnie Moore, I know he's listening, he has stood right next to me, and he's always been in charge of the yams. He can tell you when people walk through who wants them and who doesn't want them, and who wants a double dose of them. I actually called him earlier that morning just to make sure that we got there early enough that nobody took our assignments. You know, that was an important, our spot on the line duty. But I want to thank, it was a wonderful gathering of employees, but I want to thank both Chief Costello and Chief Cogburn, City Manager, Legal Counsel, the directors and staff who put this event as festive and seamless as possible. A lot of city staff is involved in the organization of making the luncheon for everyone. And you could see the city staff, the ladies that came together were, you know, to make sure. But I have to say, Mr. Ridenhour's department, they showed up as a team. They were in the most festive Christmas outfits I have ever seen. You saw them walk in together, the four of them, they just trooped right on in there, and it was really, it was good to see that. And but I want to say thank you to everyone for continuing to set the tone for the season, especially for all the employees that attended. Councilmember Beltran, would you like to add to that? And then Councilmember Wyrock.
Sure, thank you, Madam Mayor. I remember attending these when I was probably about 5 years old. They used to be at the fairgrounds, and that was a blast. I remember Milt would lead some of the sports, gunny sack races and cakewalk. It was all kinds. That was a blast. I remember, my dad spent a lot of time as an engineer, sometimes on weekends and working late. But when we really kind of developed a relationship with other employees' kids, Porterville was a little smaller back then, but we had a blast, and I know the employees really appreciated that. Just getting to know each other's families is important because you spend a lot of time away from them, but to see the relationships that they've were able to form with coworkers and stuff. So I was impressed. I mean, how many people were there? It was great to see the morale. Everybody had smiles on, and like you said, some of them were dressed up, including Mr. Lawless here was wearing his best. So I really enjoyed participating. It was really fun.
Thank you. Councilmember Wyrock?
Thank you. It was fun to see. First, I'll call it a formal luncheon, and to see the hundreds of maybe 100 people that were there. I think they really appreciated all the efforts that all the staff and directors put into making it a great success. When I arrived, I got to meet quite a few people, and they were very, very pleased that the effort was put into them. They were the focus of that luncheon. And it's a small token of the appreciation of the directors and the staff here in the city, and I'm glad that the council supports it. And, you know, there's hundreds of people that didn't attend. They weren't able to attend for whatever the reason, and they're not forgotten either. You know, everybody puts in long hours. They do a good job. They work smart. They work safe. They get home, and they're going to celebrate a holiday season, and they should. And the city appreciates all that they do. I know the directors and the staff does. It was apparent with that celebration on that day. I was glad to attend, and it was even, you know, at the end of it, everybody rolled up their sleeves and picked up chairs and tables. You know, we all just pitched in to help get it cleaned up, and that speaks to the service mentality of all the managers. So that was good. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, the Transit Forum was canceled. The Police Department badge pinning ceremony, Vice Mayor?
So every so often, I have the opportunity to attend this, and due to work, it's really hard to attend at that time, but I'm really grateful that I was able to attend on Monday. So on Monday, we had the rehire of one police officer, Darcy Jones, and the promotion of a community service officer to police officer, Anthony Urias. And the best thing about the pinning is to be able to see them come in here into chambers with the chief and other officers as support, and usually the fire department is also here to support, and then them have their family here. And prior to me coming into chambers, I saw the family waiting in the hall I believe those were for the family for the police officer, Anthony Urias, and they were mentioning that they had traveled from Tulare because they were talking about the fog driving over. So it was really good to see. There was a lot of them. They had a good showing for him, and then our chief was able to pin Darcy and welcome her back to the department. And I believe after that, after the pinning and the swearing in, the chief always says nice words to the officers and to the family, taking responsibility for their safety to the best of his ability. Then they get a tour of the police department after that. So, yeah, I was just grateful to attend, and also thank you, Mayor, for the reminder that morning or the day before, because you weren't able to be there, which I know you attend every one. So thank you for reminding me, and I'm grateful that I was able to attend in such a prestigious pinning.
All right. Thank you. Link Committee point in time. Councilmember Beltran.
Yes, the Link Planning Committee met yesterday, December 19th at 11 a.m. The meeting was held over Zoom. It was hosted by City Staff Member Christina Tank. Ms. Tank, Claudia Calderon, and myself were in attendance with 19 other individuals representing numerous organizations throughout Tulare County. Once again, Sylvia Martinez was recognized as a new chair of the Link Committee. December 19th, meeting minutes were approved with three minor corrections. Budget report consisted of a beginning balance of $11,165.15 from December, but with expenses, events like the coat drive, raffle prizes, and operational expenses, it left it, our current balance is $2,795.15. The main point in time was the main topic of this meeting. Point in time is an annual survey with results, which results provide information regarding individuals experiencing homelessness in our community. The mission of PIT provides service agencies, local government, and policymakers the opportunity to spot trends in homelessness and to evaluate the success of existing programs. Porterville will conduct its PIT event in conjunction with Link and the Porterville Welcome Center on January 25th, 2023. A mandatory meeting for volunteers will be conducted on January 17th. Link is looking for approximately 50 volunteers to help canvass the community. A wish list of items are currently being collected to hand out during the PIT event. Approximately 200 warm winter kits, hygiene kits are needed. A list of items are being circulated to help meet that need. Items like lotions, feminine hygiene products, shampoo, gloves, beanies are a few of the items needed. Donations can be dropped off at City Hall, which is at 291 North Main Street. Those interested in volunteering for the PIT event should email Claudia Calderon at ci.porterville.ca.us with your name, phone number, and note if you are bilingual. Sylvia Martinez discussed sending out a letter to area churches to help coordinate their effort with Link to streamline services and volunteers, recognizing local churches who feed, clothe, and assist those dealing with homelessness as allies and helping communication between the different organizations. The next meeting will be held January 4th at 3 p.m. This was my first Link meeting, and I am in awe of the amount of people connected to Porterville Welcome Center and the network needed to facilitate such a complicated issue and facility. I want to thank Claudia Calderon for her expertise and giving me a crash course of the history of Link and city efforts over the past 10 years in under 2 hours.
Thank you very much for that report. And it's a lot of work, and I can tell you that I always say, you know, I'm really proud of the Navigation Center and the partners and the people that work, especially the Link Committee. It's a hands-on. A lot of information that goes on into that. All right, I think we can now go back to oral communications. Is there anyone that would like to come forward?
Brock Neely, address on record. For those that are concerned with the traffic flow on the Lombardi area, I challenge you to drive Newcomb in front of Monache at 3:30 on any workday or 1:30 on Wednesday. The other thing is on the link, what they might consider incorporating in future years is work with the school district and PC and do a survey of the unstably housed students that are couch surfing, because they're considered homeless also by federal standards. And you might be able to get more money from the federal government with bigger numbers. The other thing is the solar farm that's on North Main between North Grand and Linda Vista. When that was annexed into the city and their CUP was approved, part of that CUP was to install and maintain landscaping. Who's responsible for checking the landscaping to see if they're maintaining it? Because it looks like crap. Trees are dead, weeds are growing all over the place. And there's several other places with CUPs that they're supposed to maintain their landscaping that it's not being done. I think we need to have some people actually going out and checking some of these things. Make our city look better. Thank you.
Thank you. Please.
Sitting here for 3 hours, might as well talk a little more. Richard Eckhoff, same old Springville. Anyway, while I was sitting here doing nothing and listening, and all I came down here for was the announcement earlier, but I got thinking about something else too, murals. I don't know, some weeks back I read or heard about there was some repair work or something that's going to have to be done to this mural over here across the street. And I took a look at it the other night, and boy, it looks like crap. I know back when it was first put up, I had just stepped off that committee and wasn't involved in it, but it sure seemed like there was some rather fast and not very well considered planning on it, and now I'm finding out there really was. It wasn't properly prepared, and wasn't properly done, so now the whole thing is disintegrating. And I don't think it'd be a bad idea if they just sort of whitewash the whole thing and start it over, because the way it was set up in the first place, you got, what is it, about 75% of it is Porterville High School, and the rest is Monache, And there's 4 little last-minute painted burgundy uniforms up there to represent, Granite. Now, I don't know, maybe they did it with the idea that, well, Porterville had been there forever, Monache had been there a while, and Granite was, well, they were here, yeah. But, crap, it should have still been just 1/3, 1/3, and 1/3. Wouldn't mind seeing them repaint the whole thing to where it was done properly. And also, the third one that was supposed to be done got dropped from the plan with the way back. It was supposed to be over there on the side of the telephone building, right across from the transit center. And it was done away with because they planted a bunch of trees in there. Well, the trees are all gone now, so I'm going to go back and look at that idea again. The whole concept of that one was supposed to be a transportation mural, transportation in the area down through the years, from the earliest stagecoach to the latest. And I think it'd be a good idea to look at that again. I know we lost our driving force behind that some years ago. She really worked hard to get those things going. And since she disappeared, the whole thing's disappeared. Now the Art Association is taking a hit. We don't have the art building downtown anymore. We need to start looking at that. Murals can really be a draw, and I think we had a great plan going at one time. Now suddenly we got 2.5 murals up there. So we see about getting back on them.
Thank you. Do we have anyone on virtually?
No, Your Honor.
Thank you. We'll now go on to other matters. I'm going to start with Councilmember Beltran. Anything you'd like to say under other matters?
Well, it's only been a week and I'm exhausted,
All right, that's good.
but it's been a pleasure so far. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Wyrat?
There we go. Yeah, great meeting, great staff, great directors, great employees throughout the city. It's really an honor to be up here. This last week, I took a little journey through the general plan that Porterville developed, I think, quite a few years ago. And wow, it's thorough and it covers a lot of areas. And I just would like to be a part of maybe a small subcommittee to take a look at where we're at, what we've done, what's still left to be done. There's a few years left on the general plan. One thing in particular, I mentioned it a little bit earlier, is the farm conversion to track the percentage of the farmland that has been taken and the potential future take of farmland, and how infill housing or development in the foothills, what percent of that has been done. So I'll talk with you, Madam Mayor, and Mr. Lawless about that and seeing how we can maybe readdress any gaps that we're finding, and maybe we can report back to the council on that. Again, just a great document, a great thing. I think it should be, and maybe you guys talk about it every 6 months and I've missed it. Then I would like to talk about, we heard again this week about the business of the year, maybe having the criteria updated, or having the revocation of a previously awarded business of the year. And I think I can speak for the council, possibly not, but we do hear everybody that comes up to the microphone, although we cannot speak directly to that matter. There has been some discussion about the criteria for awarding it, some criteria for possibly rescinding the award. The conversations that are just started, we've heard. I don't think we need to rehear, but you're welcome to continue coming. And we'll continue to try to address all of the citizens' concerns that come to the podium. I'd like to give some kudos to the redevelopment agency's work and staff's efforts to close the obligations of the ROPS that we talked about today and approved. And then I reported out a moment ago on the Tulare County Regional Transit Agency Authority, and we were not able to put together a fundraising or a food bus. They'd hoped to have a bus be able to drive to different places, and they'd knock on the door, and they'd come in, and everybody would already have collected all kinds of food, and they'd put it on this bus, and they'd go to the next place, and they'd go to the next place, and they'd go to the next place. And it does my heart good to hear what the Link Committee's doing and what I know all of our churches do around this holiday season. And I couldn't help but notice a Toys for Tot campaign up in Visalia last week, and the boxes are all gone. There was a box in the office where I work, and I'm just wondering, you know, if it would be appropriate, if somebody has extra food and they don't know where to donate it, if they could bring it down here to City Hall and we could find a spot for it, and we could get it out to a local charity so that people don't go hungry. Hearing the comments tonight about kids sleeping on couches, I know that feeling, and I know the feeling of being hungry. So I don't know if it would be possible to have food come here, but those are my other matters that I'd like to share at this time, and thank you for that opportunity, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Meister.
Earlier, Milt Stowe brought up that memorial that he was wanting to, is that something we could put forth tonight, or is that something that we discuss in future?
It would need to be agendized, so what we would do is bring back with approval, the council approving that, accepting of that donation and placement.
Okay, I would hope that be on the next agenda, but for that, I'd like to, I got to agree with Ray, eyes are wide open, right? And I want to thank the management here, John, Julia, Jason, you guys have made this easy transitioning to this, right, and doing this, and you guys always talk about the staff that supports you and why, what makes you guys look so good, right? And so that's passing it down to people like Javier and the chief there. So something else I've realized is that this city does not sleep, right? I go to bed at night, but this city doesn't, and there's people working around the clock. There's people that are going to be working through the holidays while I'm on vacation, and I want to say thank you to those people. Merry Christmas to you all, and I'd like to say God bless you all. God bless Porterville, and God bless this great country. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice Mayor.
Yeah, first of all, I wanted to just say a thank you to all city staff. I didn't get to go to the luncheon, but I was glad to hear the stories. Thank you, council member, for sharing that about your experience, and also Mayor, you know, all the years you've been able to serve, also the lunch. So I just, you know, we always thank our departments and our directors because that's who we work the most with. But I just want to say at this time, closing towards the end of the year and the holiday season, you know, just prayers for everyone. We don't lose anyone else this year. And we just can be happy and enjoy time with our loved ones during these holidays, however you celebrate, and hopefully get some rest over the next few weeks. I know that we have some people going on vacation, so try to enjoy that. And then I do want to focus on fire and police a little bit, and part of that goes to, again, the information that we get as council members. That also goes out on social media too to inform our community. But thank you, Chief Costello and Cogburn, for your departments and all the work that you do. Like I said earlier, thank you for the presentation. I think it just gives us a better understanding of what the staff deal with and our officers and our firefighters. You know, we're just really grateful for you and for your families that support you and what you do as well. So I just wanted to mention those things. I'll leave it there. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you very much. I know I'm going to ask everybody who's on here to turn their cameras on, because I like seeing them as we conclude the meeting. I kind of like to see who's on there and who's happy and all their happy faces. One of the things that I'm going to bring to the table tonight is somebody that probably, her work never goes unnoticed, and she's always there for us, is Julia Liu. I mean, we always commend staff, and they are always there for the city manager, and he can't do his job without them. However, I am grateful to you. She's
Thank you.
blushing.
The feeling is mutual. I know, you guys are embarrassing me. but-
Because
The feeling
her
is
work-
incredibly mutual.
It's one of these that we go on a daily basis, and it's so important because she's a very important part of the council. And I have to appreciate you. As we continue moving on with other things, I will be attending the Elks Lodge dinner honoring the veterans this Friday. I will be speaking at that event. Also tomorrow, December 22nd, I will try to drop in at the Comisión Honorífica Mexicana Americana. They will be having a posada navideña, and the admission is free. They will have tamales, pan dulce, piñatas, and hot chocolate. Also, next Tuesday, on the 27th, I've been invited by a student from Porterville College just to have a conversation. He wants to know about city government. And first of all, he said he wanted to interview me, and I called him. I said, wait a minute, is it for a class? What is it for? He said, no, I just want to meet you and talk to you about city government and bring a friend who has the interest also, and I said that I would be doing so. I know that we have received information for the ribbon cutting celebration for the Sequoia National Forest headquarters. I look forward to that. I've been invited to speak on behalf of the city and have accepted. I want to wish everyone a very Merry Christmas. Enjoy the blessings and the adventures. I'm going to put an emphasis on adventures, okay? Because enjoy them with your family, friends, and peace on earth. Mr. Lawless.
Peace on earth. My turn?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Apologize, was conferring with the city attorney on something. So, well, I appreciate the sentiments of that. In the luncheon, it was a great example of the teamwork that happens across departments, from the department directors donating turkeys that were used, Patrice, Julie, and I, who cook hams as well.
Yeah.
The police department, who deep pits them, and I know that it was a difficult day for the chief and his staff, because Augie would have been the person that would have administered that. So I know that was a difficult day for them. And then Parks and the Public Works folks that actually decorated and got tables set up and those sorts of things. And Human Resources that did the photo booth, if you didn't do that. So, and the decorations on the table. So it's truly a integrated, well organized effort. And it was great to be able to invite retirees that attended as well, and several of them that were there, and pardon me, great to see them as well. So just want to thank them for that, and thought it was a smashing success. So I appreciate that, and then certainly want to wish Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays and New Year to the council and to the staff.
Thank you. Fernando, would you like to say anything? It's the end of the year.
This time is not of the essence. Yeah, just, Merry Christmas to everybody, Happy Holidays. Hopefully everybody can take a breather and a little break and kind of get together and do something nice with your families and everything, so Happy Holidays.
Okay, well, with that being said, we're going to adjourn the meeting at 9:21. All right, who won?